You wake up, your body stiff from the night's rest on the rough straw mattress, its fibers itching at your skin. The bedding smells damp and old, like a mixture of sweat, mildew, and the lingering stench of past discomforts. Your eyes barely open as the low light from outside filters through a tiny grimy window. It's cold, unbearably cold. The chill in the room seems to seep directly into your bones as though the walls themselves are made of ice. A deep breath fills your lungs with the smell of musty straw, unwashed bodies, and something vaguely sour, a smell so constant that you no longer notice it consciously, but it clings to your skin and hair like a second layer. The air tastes stale, almost thick with the heaviness of a long, unsanitary night. Hey there, if you've been enjoying the content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Why? Because by subscribing you'll be the first to get all the latest updates, tips, and content that's tailored just for you. Historical deep dives, unique insights, entertainment, etc. We've got something special coming your way. Plus, subscribing means you won't miss out on any exciting new videos. We're just getting started. So go ahead and subscribe and let's keep this journey going together. Your body, used to the harshness of the medieval world, still fights against the stiffness that the straw bed imposes. The thin, rough wool blanket, which hardly provides warmth, lies tangled around your legs. You can feel the coarse texture of the wool scraping against your skin, a constant irritation. The coldness of the room, the dampness in the walls, seems to have invaded every inch of the bed, from the itchy straw beneath you to the rags that serve as your blanket. A few flecks of dust fall from the rafters above you, unnoticed as they swirl in the air, catching the faint sunlight coming through the window. You stretch, your fingers brushing against the rough surface of the woolen blanket as your body shifts, trying to find a momentary sense of comfort. But comfort is scarce here. Every move you make feels like an effort, like you're pushing through something thick, oppressive. The air, cold as it is, carries the moisture of the night and the smell of the earth that is seeped into the very fabric of the walls and floors. Your fingers, stiff with the cold, press against the surface of the straw mattress, and you can feel the fleas, tiny creatures that make their homes in the rough fibers, biting and jumping away as you disturb them. Your face, still half buried in the pillow, feels damp, as if moisture has collected from the air and transferred to your skin. The pillow itself is a mere sack of stuffing, perhaps filled with more straw, giving no real softness, only an unforgiving surface that presses against your cheek. The sensation of this roughness, combined with the coldness and the lingering smell of body odor, creates a morning unlike any modern waking. The noise from outside, a distant muffled sound of daily life in a city that never sleeps, makes it hard to fully focus on the moment. Yet you are awake now, and there is no option but to face the grim reality of your surroundings. The floor beneath you, cold and hard, presses through the thin layer of straw that is supposed to insulate you from its hardness. You move a bit to try and ease the discomfort, but it does little to improve your situation. The air is still damp with the smell of rotting wood and decaying vegetation. There is no escaping the wetness that clings to everything. The cold that you feel seems to persist in a way that no blanket or woolen garment can remedy. It's as though the dampness is in the very walls, in the very fabric of the world around you. You sit up slowly, the muscles in your back protesting, stiff from the long hours on the rough surface. The light outside is dim, barely piercing the thin cracks in the walls, and you can feel it like a cold hand creeping into the room, intensifying the chill. A creak of wood from the ceiling makes you pause. There's always a noise, always something breaking down in this place. Every night the building seems to sink a little lower into the earth, becoming more like a part of the earth itself. The air smells like the earth and the decay of all things, human, animal, plant, and stone. The dampness inside the room is palpable, almost as though the room itself is wet from the rain outside, though no rain has fallen for days. The moisture seems to emanate from the very stones that form the walls. The blanket beneath you feels more like a barrier than a comfort. It smells of sweat, of the last person who used it, and perhaps of the poor woman who sewed it together. The rough texture of the wool scratches at your skin as you push it off, reluctantly removing it, and as if the blanket itself is holding you back. You sit up and rub your eyes, but the sleepiness is still present, thick in your head, the weight of it lingering. Your fingers come away, slightly damp, and the smell of your own skin is not something you wish to acknowledge. There is no joy in being awake in this place, only a gradual acceptance that this is the world, that there is no escape and no comfort to be found. It is not the kind of place that offers peace in the morning. There is no luxury in waking up here. The dampness, the cold, and the ever-present stench of decay form the world you inhabit. The cold and the wetness in your bones tell you, without words, that the day will be long and filled with struggles. You hear the sound of someone stirring outside your door, their footsteps muffled by the thick wet straw that covers the floors of the building. A slight shift in the air tells you that the wind outside is picking up, making the trees creak and sway. The city around you is waking up, as it does every day, though it offers no more comfort today than it did yesterday. You stretch your legs, pushing them out from beneath the blanket, and feel the cold earth beneath your feet. It presses up through the thin cloth of your shift, cold and unyielding. The wetness in the room seems to be drawn to your feet, to your clothes, to your skin. The feeling of moisture clinging to your body as you rise to your feet is uncomfortable, but it is the only reality you know. The ground beneath you is uneven, the stones poking through the straw and the dirt floor, and the rough surface makes your bare feet ache. There is no rush to get up, but you know that if you stay here too long, the cold will seep into your very bones, the wetness will take root in your muscles, and your mind will follow suit. Slowly you begin to stand, leaning against the rough wall to steady yourself. The light in the room is dim, but it's enough to reveal the dirt and grime that have collected in the corners. Everything here, from the walls to the bedding to the floor, feels like it's always been covered in a fine layer of dirt. Nothing is ever clean, and no one ever feels fresh. As you stand, your knees protesting, the room seems to grow colder. The blanket you've pushed aside is now a pile of rough wool at your feet. The air feels thicker, heavier, as if it too is reluctant to leave this room. You look at the small patch of daylight outside the window, and for a brief moment there's a sense of longing. But the cold dampness in the air quickly pulls you back to the present. There is nothing here for you but the same daily struggle, the same unpleasant realities. The cold air still bites at your face, as it always does when you wake. It's not the kind of cold that is refreshing, it's the kind that settles deep inside your skin, creating a chill that lingers in the bones. It's the kind of cold that over time you become numb to, even as it continues to gnaw away at your warmth. And so you begin your day in 1348, a day much like any other. You don't think of it as anything special. The routines are as familiar as the coldness, as the straw bed, as the smell of your own unwashed body. You know that no matter how much you want to change, nothing about this world is going to offer you comfort. All you can do is move through it, slowly, methodically, as the day unfolds in front of you. You stand in the dim light of the morning, barely able to make out the shapes in the room. The cold of the stone floor still clings to your feet, the dampness creeping up your legs as you make your way across the room. There is no rush, no urgency. The day will come slowly, as always, a series of monotonous tasks that must be completed to survive. You glance at the rough wooden bucket in the corner. Its contents, uninviting and unpleasant, are a reminder of the daily struggle to maintain the most basic sense of cleanliness. But cleanliness is a luxury few can afford in 1348. The concept of hygiene is foreign, not just to you, but to the world around you. There are no scented soaps, no fresh water on tap, no soft towels to dry your skin. There is only the reality of what you can do with what you have, and what you have is limited. You walk over to the small basin of water in the corner, the only water you will have for the morning. It is murky gray with a faint scum floating at the top. The smell of stagnant water rises as you dip your hands into it, the chill of the water seeping into your fingers. It's not refreshing, it's a harsh shock, like the coldness of the air that never seems to leave. There is no way to avoid it. This is all you have. You take a deep breath, the scent of the water clinging to your skin, and begin. Your fingers grasp the rough cloth nearby, an old piece of linen you have been using for weeks. It smells faintly of sweat, a bit sour, but it is the only cloth available for such tasks. You dip it into the water, the cloth absorbing the filth of the basin, and rub it against your teeth, the harsh texture scraping against your gums. The act is uncomfortable, but it's all that can be done. There are no toothbrushes here, no paste, just the rough cloth and the faint trace of crushed herbs that you've been told might help. The herbs do little for the taste of your mouth, though, and the sensation of rubbing a rough cloth against your teeth leaves you with a feeling of rawness, of something unfinished. The taste lingers, unpleasant and gritty. There is nothing fresh about it. Your tongue feels coated, your teeth gritty and worn, but you don't think about it for long. The task is over. It's simply another part of the daily routine. You hear a distant sound, the low rhythmic noise of footsteps outside. The sound is a reminder that the world is moving around you, that the day has already begun, And as you stand there wiping your face with the same cloth, you feel the presence of the outside world creeping in. The air is thick with the scent of manure, of something more unpleasant that stirs with the wind. It's not uncommon for the smell to carry into your home, but it's always a shock, as if the stench of the world outside is a reminder of your own helplessness. The chamber pot sits in the corner, an ever-present reminder of the lack of sanitation. It's not something you can avoid, not something you can escape. You look at it now, its contents a mix of your own waste and that of your family. It is unpleasant, to say the least, but it's a fact of life. There are no toilets, no sewers here, only the chamber pot, which must be emptied when full, and that task will soon fall to you. You take a deep breath, steeling yourself for the next task. You walk toward the pot, the smell of it already in the air. It's a thick, foul smell that seems to cling to everything it touches. The task of emptying it is never pleasant, but it is necessary. You take the pot in hand, feeling the weight of it in your arms, and move toward the door. The cold air greets you immediately as you open it. The streets outside are still dark, but you can hear the sound of movement, the low murmur of activity as the town begins to wake. You move toward the gutter, a narrow open channel in the street where waste is discarded. The liquid sloshes uncomfortably in the pot as you walk, and the smell intensifies, filling your nostrils with its sourness. The world around you seems to hold its breath, as though even the earth itself recoils from the filth that is being poured into it. The waste mixes with the muck in the street, creating a puddle of refuse that will sit there for hours, maybe days, slowly rotting under the sun's heat. You return inside, the smell still hanging on you, in your clothes, in your hair. There is no escaping it. It's in your skin, in the very air you breathe. You feel the weight of it, this daily struggle that is so deeply ingrained in the fabric of life. It's as though the grime, the dirt, the stench are all a part of you, like another layer of skin that you can never shed. You look around the room, at the disarray, the dullness of everything in it. There is nothing clean here. The walls are covered in grime, the windows caked with dirt, the floor stained from years of use. You rub your hands on your face, the sensation of oil and sweat still clinging to your skin. You wonder for a fleeting moment when you might feel clean again, but the thought passes quickly. Cleanliness is not something that is achievable here. Not now, not in this world. You move on to your hair, feeling the grease that has built up over days of neglect. There is no soap, no shampoo. There is only the roughness of your hands and a small cloth that you use to rub through your tangled, oily hair. The task is slow, agonizingly slow. Every stroke feels like an eternity. The sensation of the dirt mixing with your hair, the oil sticking to your scalp. You wonder if you will ever feel fresh again. The feeling of clean hair is so distant, so far removed from the reality of your world, that you can hardly remember what it feels like. You continue with the task, brushing through your hair again and again, but it's never enough. The oil remains, the dirt remains. The feeling of grease on your scalp clings to you like a second skin. You feel like you'll never be rid of it. The air is thick, heavy, and the stench of your own body becomes overpowering as you continue to move, slow and steady, through the motions of your morning hygiene. And as you finish, you stand there for a moment, the weight of the world on your shoulders, the smell of your own body heavy in the air. There is no relief, no escape. This is your life now. This is how you wake up every morning, how you live every day. The discomfort, the filth, the struggle, they are all a part of you, as much as the breath in your lungs, as much as the earth beneath your feet. But still the day moves forward. You have no choice but to move with it. The morning light is creeping through the cracks in the wall now, casting its pale glow across the dirt floor. It's barely enough to light the room, but it's all you'll have for today. The daylight, though faint, has a way of making the grime around you even more noticeable. You glance back at the bucket of water in the corner, still filled with that same stagnant liquid. It's not refreshing, it never is, but it's all you have. You dip your fingers into it once more, feeling the coldness slip into your skin like a numbing force. The cold water is a sharp contrast to the warmth of your body, but it does little to wake you. You're already awake, but in a way that leaves you exhausted before the day has even started. The coldness simply reinforces the reality that there is no relief in this world, no real comfort. It makes you feel as though the very act of being awake is a burden you must bear. You slowly splash the water onto your face, the sensation of it hitting your skin an unwelcome shock. The water clings to you, heavy and cold. It doesn't cleanse you. It only leaves a layer of moisture behind, the dampness spreading across your skin and soaking into the already grime-covered linen shift you wear. It doesn't matter. You can't escape it. It's part of who you are now, part of the world you live in. It's the reality of being here, of waking up each day and facing the same dirt, the same cold, the same smell. The cloth, now heavy with water, is pressed against your face. You rub at your eyes, your cheeks, but the sensation is only temporary. The dirt, the oil, the grime that has settled on your skin over the days and weeks won't simply wash away with a few splashes of cold water. It takes more than that. And even then, it's a futile attempt. There is no way to rid yourself of the constant layer of filth that surrounds you. It's not just in your skin, but in the air, in the walls, in the very fabric of your existence. Every part of you feels soaked in it, as though it seeped deep into your bones, making the process of hygiene seem almost pointless. You look into the reflection of the small, cracked shard of glass that serves as your mirror. Your face is blotchy, covered in a layer of grease and grime. The dirt around your eyes from the days of not washing properly is still there, stubborn and resistant. You press the cloth against your forehead, trying to wipe away the remnants of the night's discomfort, but it doesn't make a difference. It only leaves behind more wetness, more coldness. You wonder for a moment why you even bother. Why attempt to clean yourself when it's all for naught? The grime is so deeply ingrained in you that it feels impossible to wash it away. But you must. You must keep going. The day waits for no one. Next, you turn to your hands. The sensation of your fingers on your skin is a strange one, distant and alien, as though they don't belong to you. You feel the layers of dirt under your nails, the grease that has built up over the past few days. It's a grim reminder that there is no luxury of hand soap or clean water here. The rough cloth you've been using is your only tool, and even that is worn thin with constant use. It scrapes against your skin, a harsh texture that does nothing to soothe the roughness you feel. You scrub your hands as best as you can, but the result is always the same. A lingering feeling of discomfort, the sensation that no matter how hard you try, you cannot clean yourself. You look at the water in the basin again, the murky liquid swirling around your fingers. You wonder how long it has been since it was last replaced, but it doesn't matter. It never matters. The water will always be dirty. The cloth will always be rough. The smell of your own body will always cling to you. The sensation of dirt will always be there, no matter what you do. You move to your hair next, your scalp tingling from the oil and grease that has built up over time. The lack of soap or proper cleaning agents has left your hair feeling heavy and stiff. You take the cloth, wet it again, and press it against your scalp, rubbing gently to try to remove some of the grease. The task is slow and tedious. The oil does not come off easily. It sticks to you, clinging to your hair, your scalp, like something that cannot be undone. The feeling of the oil as it shifts beneath your fingers is unpleasant. It's sticky and the smell of it fills your nostrils as you try to work through the tangles. Your hair, long and unkempt, is coarse and dry, the texture harsh under the cloth. You rub at it again and again, but it only seems to make the oil more apparent, more present. The task becomes a cycle. Rub, press, wipe, rinse, only to find that nothing has really changed. Your hair still feels greasy, still smells like oil and sweat. You wonder if it will ever feel clean again. The sound of the chamber pot in the corner reminds you that there are other things to do, things that cannot be ignored. The waste, the smell, the filth, it's all part of your world now, and it cannot be avoided. You know that once you finish your morning routine, the task of emptying the chamber pot will await you. It's a grim cycle, one that repeats day after day. There is no escape, no reprieve from the stench, the discomfort, the struggle. As you finish with your hair, you run your fingers through it, feeling the roughness, the oil, the tangles. The task is not complete, but it is as complete as it can be. There is no more time to linger. The day has already begun, and you must move on, must continue with the next task. The discomfort is familiar, the grime, the smell, the unwashed body, they are part of your world, and there is no changing that. You step back and look around the room. The dirt, the cold, the dampness, it's everywhere. It is in the walls, in the floor, in the very air. You feel it on your skin, in your hair, in the way your clothes stick to you. It's not just physical, it's psychological too. The weight of it presses down on you, making everything seem heavier, harder to bear. The sound of someone stirring outside reminds you that the world is still moving, still continuing. The noise from the street outside, the clatter of carts and the low murmur of people talking, it's all part of the same routine. Life continues, but the world you live in is one of discomfort and struggle. There is no luxury here, no comfort, only the constant fight to stay clean, to stay healthy, to survive. The day stretches ahead, endless and unchanging, and you know that no matter how hard you try, no matter how many times you wash your face or scrub your hands, it will never be enough. The world is simply too dirty, too harsh. It's the reality you live in, the world you must face every single day. The day has officially begun now, and the sounds of the street slowly filter through the thin walls of your home. You step outside, greeted by the immediate assault of smells and sounds, a stark contrast to the muted world of your room. The chill of the morning air hits you first, not the crisp, refreshing kind, but the damp, bone-deep cold that seems to hang in the atmosphere, refusing to lift. The sky is still overcast, the sun hidden behind thick clouds that block out any semblance of warmth or light. As you make your way into the street, your feet sink slightly into the wet muck that coats the road. The ground beneath you is soft, as though the earth is too tired to support the weight of the world upon it. Each step you take sends a small wave of discomfort through your body. The mud is thick and heavy, sticking to your boots with an almost unnerving insistence. It squelches beneath you, making every movement feel like a battle against the very ground itself. The smell of the streets is overpowering. It's a mix of animal dung, sweat, and decay, a combination so strong that it almost seems to stick to the back of your throat. The stench of waste, human and animal, fills the air as you walk, the smell so pungent that you can taste it. You pull your sleeve up over your nose, but it does little to block the fumes. The air is thick, heavy, and unbearable. The world is saturated with the odors of daily life, all of them unpleasant, all of them persistent. As you move further into the street, the chaos of the market begins to unfold around you. Stalls line the narrow road, each one overflowing with goods, some fresh, most rotten. The vendors shout, their voices hoarse from hours of haggling, calling out their wares, trying to draw in the few customers who are brave enough to venture into this grimy, pungent marketplace. You see piles of vegetables, some wilted and decaying, others covered in dirt, their once bright colors now muted under layers of grime. The butcher's stalls are perhaps the worst. The air around them is thick with the smell of blood and raw meat, the metallic tang of it seeping into your nostrils. The flies are the worst part, hovering in thick swarms over the meat, landing on it, crawling in and out of the cracks between the cuts. They buzz around the stall like a cloud, relentless in their pursuit of the rotten flesh. You step around the pile of offal, trying not to inhale too deeply, but it's impossible. The smell is everywhere. The ground underfoot is sticky, a combination of mud and spilled food, animal waste, and discarded bits of cloth. The muck clings to the soles of your boots, dragging at your every step. It feels like walking through a river of filth, each step a reminder that cleanliness is a distant dream in this world. There is no escape from the filth, no place untouched by the grime of daily life. The streets are a living testament to the struggle for survival, raw, unrelenting, and suffocating. The market itself is a maze of narrow alleys, each one filled with more of the same. People jostle past you, their faces smeared with dirt, their hands covered in the grime of the world. The smell of their sweat mingles with the other odors, a constant undercurrent to the market's chaos. You can hear the clatter of wooden carts being pushed through the muddy streets, the creaking of metal wheels dragging through the muck. The noise is constant, unceasing. Voices raised in bargaining, the sharp sound of metal against wood. the endless hum of life moving forward in spite of the discomfort, in spite of the dirt. As you move deeper into the market, you pass by the tanning booths, small makeshift stalls where hides are stretched out, worked over with rough tools, and soaked in urine to soften the leather. The smell here is overpowering, an acrid, sour scent that burns your nostrils and makes your stomach churn. It is the smell of human waste mixed with the sharp scent of animal hides and chemicals that no one should ever have to smell. The tanning process is far from hygienic, and the stench of it lingers in the air like a dark cloud, suffocating the area. You can feel the sting coating the back of your throat as you pass through, and you quickly cover your nose with your sleeve, but the damage is already done. The odor is etched into your senses, a memory that will stay with you long after you've moved on. Further down the street you can hear the sounds of the open drains, or kennels as they are known in this part of the world. These narrow open gutters run through the center of the street, a constant flow of waste, refuse, and stagnant water. The liquid that runs through them is dark, thick, and foul, carrying with it the remnants of the day's activities, animal waste, food scraps, human waste, and everything else that the city cannot contain. The smell is unbearable, and as you walk beside it, the air is heavy with the stench of decay. It's a smell that never leaves, a constant companion in the streets of the town. The kennels are the lifeblood of the city, the places where everything that is unwanted is discarded. The water that flows through them is thick with grime, the surface covered in a film of scum. The waste mixes together, swirling in a dark, stagnant pool that serves as the city's drainage system. There are no sewers, no real sanitation system, only these open drains, which are filled to the brim with filth that make their way through the heart of the city. You try to avoid stepping too close to the kennels, but it's impossible. The filth is everywhere, creeping into every corner, every crack in the ground. The air itself seems to carry the stench of the waste, and with every breath you take, it feels as though you are swallowing the very grime of the city. The streets are lined with shops selling goods, but there is no joy in these purchases. You can see the flies crawling over the baskets of fruits and vegetables, their bodies coated in the thick, sticky residue of decay. The meat that hangs from the butcher's stalls is already beginning to turn, its color dull and lifeless. Yet, despite the rot, despite the filth, the market hums with activity. People continue to shop, to bargain, to live in spite of the conditions. There is no luxury here. There is no comfort. The people who walk the streets are covered in dirt, their clothes stained from the constant exposure to the filth of the market. They do not seem to mind, for this is their world. It is a world where hygiene is an afterthought, where cleanliness is an unattainable dream. The only thing that matters is survival, getting through the day, finding something to eat, keeping your body alive. You move past the market, your stomach turning at the smells, your mind reeling from the sensory overload. The streets seem endless, stretching on, a never-ending cycle of filth and grime. There is no respite, no clean space to escape to. The world is covered in dirt, in waste, in the stench of decay, and you are trapped in it just like everyone else. As you walk deeper into the heart of the city, the noise and filth around you only intensify. The sound of the market is a constant hum, punctuated by the occasional loud shout of a vendor trying to grab attention, the clink of metal against wood as carts are loaded and unloaded, and the constant low murmur of bargaining. The air around you is thick with the scents of meat, sweat, mud, and urine mixing together in a cloud of nauseating odor that seems to press against your skin. You push forward, your boots sinking into the muck with every step. The mud is more than just water and dirt, it's a thick, viscous mixture of refuse, waste, and decay. Each step is a reminder that cleanliness is a foreign concept here. The street is a river of filth, and you are caught in its current. You move slowly, carefully, not wanting to step too deeply into the muck, but there's no avoiding it. It clings to your boots, sticking to them like a second skin. The market, too, is a chaotic blend of sounds and smells. You hear the constant clatter of metal and wood, the sharp cry of a vendor hawking their goods, the low buzz of the flies that seem to rule the place. The stalls are overflowing with food, some fresh, some not. The vendors push their wares toward you, trying to tempt you with what little they have. The vegetables are wilted, their colors dull and lifeless under the layer of grime that coats them. The fruits, though still somewhat fresh, are covered in a fine dust of dirt and flies. The meat on the butcher's tables is raw, bloodied and surrounded by swarms of flies, their bodies crawling over the cuts of flesh like a living, writhing blanket. The smell of rotting fish is overwhelming. It clings to the air, to your skin, to your clothes. The fish are piled high on the tables, their scales dull and their bodies bloated, some already beginning to turn. The stench is sharp and sour, the smell of decay mixing with the unmistakable tang of salt water. The fish are not fresh, but that doesn't matter. In this world, freshness is a luxury few can afford. The vendors, with faces flushed from the heat and the stench, continue to call out to passers-by, offering their wares despite the overwhelming rot that surrounds them. You turn a corner and come upon the open gutters again, the canals that run down the middle of the street, channels for the waste of the entire city. The water that flows through these gutters is thick with filth, a swirling mass of refuse that carries with it the remnants of human life, waste, scraps of food, and the occasional rat. The liquid moves slowly, its surface covered with a thin film of scum. The smell is unbearable, the stench of urine, excrement, and decay rising into the air with every step you take. The gutters seem endless, stretching down the length of the street like dark veins, running through the heart of the city. The noise of the street drowns out the gurgling of the water, but you can still hear it if you listen closely, the soft splashing sound of waste moving through the muck. The air is thick with the smell of rot, the stench clinging to everything it touches. Your clothes, your skin, your hair, they all feel tainted by the filth that surrounds you. As you continue down the street, you pass by a group of children, their faces covered in dirt, their hands sticky with the grime of the world. They are playing in the muck, their laughter a high-pitched squeal that seems out of place in such a grim environment. They are unbothered by the filth, the smells, the dangers that lurk in the streets. To them this is normal. They are growing up in a world where hygiene is a forgotten concept, where the air is thick with the scent of decay, and where every surface is covered in grime. You feel a pang of discomfort as you walk past them, their innocence in stark contrast to the world around them. But there is no time for reflection. The day moves forward and you must move with it. The smell of the market, the sounds of the street, the feel of the mud underfoot, they are all a part of your world now. There is no escaping it. There is no clean place to go. You can't hide from the filth. It's a part of you, a part of everyone who lives in this place. The street narrows as you move deeper into the market. The stalls become more cramped, the vendors more desperate. The air grows thicker with the smell of food, rotten food, stale bread, and sour milk. The ground is sticky with the remnants of spilled food, animal waste, and the dirt that is churned up by the constant movement of people. The cobblestones beneath your feet are worn smooth from years of use, but they are covered in grime, the cracks between them filled with dirt and refuse. You stop briefly at the vendor's stall, your eyes scanning the goods. The bread is stale, the crusts hard and dry. The cheese is molded, its surface covered in a thick layer of fuzz. The fruits are bruised, their skins wrinkled and cracked. Despite the quality of the goods, the vendor continues to push them forward, trying to make a sale. Their voice is hoarse from shouting, their face red from the heat and the stench of the market. They don't seem to notice the flies, the dirt, the decay. They are used to it. It's all they know. You move on, your stomach twisting at the sight of the spoiled food. The idea of eating anything from this market is repulsive, but you know that some will. In this world, hunger is a greater enemy than the filth. The poor will eat whatever they can, no matter how rotten or decayed it may be. You can feel the weight of that truth as you move through the market, the reality of survival pressing down on you. As you turn another corner, the street becomes even narrower. The buildings on either side rise up like dark, oppressive walls, their surfaces covered in grime and soot. The air is thicker here, the stench of decay and waste more pronounced. You can feel it in your lungs, the heaviness of the air pressing down on you. It's harder to breathe in this part of the city, the air thick with the smell of urine and rotting food. The gutters overflow here, the waste spilling into the street, mixing with the mud and dirt. The noise is louder now, the sounds of the market echoing off the walls of the narrow street. The shouts of the vendors, the cries of children playing in the muck, the clatter of carts, everything blends together into a cacophony of noise that never stops. It's a constant hum, a background to every moment of life in this city. The sounds seem to reverberate through your bones, making it hard to focus on anything else. The noise is overwhelming, unrelenting, and it feels as though the world is closing in around you. As you walk, your boots are weighed down by the thick mud, the layers of grime sticking to them with every step. You can feel the weight of the muck as it drags at you, slowing you down, making it harder to move. It's a constant struggle, but it's a struggle you know well. The mud, the waste, the filth, they are all part of life here. You don't question it. You just keep moving, one step after another as the world presses on. You take a deep breath, the air thick with the smell of decay. The sound of the market, the feel of the muck beneath your boots. It's not a life of luxury, it's not a life of comfort, but it's your life, and it's the life of everyone around you. There is no escape from the filth, from the grime, from the decay. It is your world, your reality, and there's nothing you can do to change it. As the sun begins its slow descent, the world around you seems to darken, not just in the sky, but in every part of your life. The room that once held a semblance of light now seems to shrink in the shadow of the evening, and the cold that had been a quiet presence during the day now becomes an undeniable force. The flicker of the few meager candles you have is hardly enough to illuminate the room, and soon the light will fade completely, leaving you in the dim gloom that only a tiny flame can provide. The hearth, though it is the center of warmth for the home, offers little comfort. The fire sputters, its weak flames licking the logs with a hungry, crackling noise. The air around the hearth is filled with the sharp, acrid scent of smoke that stings your eyes and throat, making it difficult to breathe. Each inhalation brings with it a wave of discomfort, the smoke curling into your lungs, lingering there as if it has become part of the very air you breathe. It it is a suffocating kind of warmth, one that fails to truly heat the room, but instead fills it with a sense of claustrophobic heat that seems to settle into your skin, clinging to you as though it's a part of you. You move away from the hearth, but it's impossible to escape the smoke. The room itself seems to be made of it, the very walls absorbing the lingering odor of wood and ash. The clothes you wear, the rough, simple tunic that barely shields your skin from the cold, are heavy with the smell of the fire, as though they themselves have absorbed the smoke. The woolen garments you wear are stiff and coarse, their texture rough against your skin. The lingering scent of burning wood now embedded into every fiber. You move toward the small table in the center of the room, where a simple meal awaits, but the warmth of the hearth offers no comfort, no reprieve. The meal is meager, as it always is. There is no abundance here, only enough to get by. The bread is stale, the cheese is hard and unappetizing, and the meat, though it has been cooked, is tough and stringy. You eat slowly, the food thick and dry in your mouth. The taste of it lingers long after you swallow, and you can feel the weight of it in your stomach settling there like a stone. The hunger that gnawed at you earlier in the day has not been fully satisfied, but the exhaustion from the day's labor weighs more heavily on you now than the emptiness of your stomach. The cold in the room seems to deepen as the evening stretches on, the air growing heavier with each passing minute. You can feel the dampness in the walls, the moisture from the earth that seems to rise through the floorboards and permeate the very air. The earth outside, the mud and muck, seems to have crept into the room itself, filling it with a sense of heaviness that makes it hard to breathe. The only comfort you have is the small fire, but even that is not enough to push back the cold that settles into your bones. The warmth, such as it is fleeting, and soon you find yourself shivering in the damp, frigid air. As you finish your meal, you feel the pull of the day's exhaustion in your limbs. Your muscles ache, sore from the weight of the world you carry. But there is no rest here, not true rest. The vermin, always present, scurry around the room. their tiny claws clicking against the wooden floor, their presence a constant reminder that no space is ever truly yours. You try to ignore them, to push aside the discomfort of their movements, but they are everywhere, crawling along the edges of the walls, darting across the floor, hiding in the cracks in the ceiling where they make their nests and breed. The fleas in the straw bed, the rats in the rafters, the constant movement of creatures around you, they are all a part of the world you inhabit, a world where cleanliness is a dream and comfort is an illusion. You pull yourself from the table, your body heavy with fatigue, and move toward the corner where your bed awaits. It is nothing more than a pile of straw, rough and unyielding, barely softened by the thin woolen blanket that rests on top of it. The straw itself is uncomfortable, poking at you as you sink into it. The unevenness of the bed makes every movement a struggle, as if you are trying to find a comfortable position in a sea of discomfort. The straw seems to shift beneath you with every movement, creaking and rustling as you lie down, but it offers no real support. It is a hollow comfort and a thin veil over the reality of your situation. The straw bed is cold too, damp from the moisture that seeps into the room during the night. The sensation of it against your skin is unpleasant, as though the dampness itself is working its way into your bones. The woolen blanket, though it is thick, offers little warmth. It is rough against your skin, scratching at you as you pull it up over your body. The blanket is not soft, its fibers feel more like burlap than fabric, and you can feel every coarse thread against your skin as you settle into bed. As you lie there trying to get comfortable, you hear the scurrying of the rats in the rafters above you. Their tiny claws scratch against the wooden beams, and you can hear their soft squeaks as they move about in the darkness. They are always there, always present, a constant reminder that no space is truly your own. You close your eyes, but it does little to block out the sounds of their movement. The scratching continues, persistent and unceasing, like a background noise that never fades away. You try to ignore them, to focus on the small comfort of the blanket, the warmth of your own body beneath it. But it's hard. The coldness of the room, the dampness in the air, the noise of the rats, everything seems to conspire against you, pulling you deeper into a state of discomfort. You pull the blanket tighter around yourself, but it does little to shield you from the cold or the vermin that skitter about the room. The bed, such as it is a poor imitation of comfort. It is a harsh, unyielding surface that offers no relief. Every movement, every shift seems to bring with it the discomfort of the straw, the roughness of the wool, the coldness of the air. The dampness from the walls seeps into your bones, making it impossible to find warmth. The lack of proper bedding, the vermin, the cold, everything about this moment is a reminder that rest is not a gift to be had here. You close your eyes again, but sleep does not come easily. The discomfort of the day, the dirt, the filth, the struggle is still with you. The weight of it presses down on you, a constant reminder of the life you live. The rats continue to move above you, their tiny claws scratching against the ceiling, their presence a constant reminder of the filth that surrounds you. You wonder if you will ever find peace in this world, if you will ever find a moment of true comfort. The wind outside picks up, the howling sound of it filtering through the cracks in the walls. It is a cold, biting wind, and the sound of it seems to seep into your bones. The walls of your home creak with the weight of it, and you feel the chill as it presses in through the gaps in the wood. The straw bed offers no protection against it. You pull the blanket tighter around you, but it does little to shield you from the cold. As you lie there, the day's exhaustion finally begins to overtake you. The discomfort, the cold, the noise, all of it starts to fade into the background as your body succumbs to the need for sleep. But it is not a peaceful sleep. It is a restless sleep, filled with the awareness of your surroundings, the awareness of the filth, the vermin, the cold. Sleep in this world is never truly restful. It is always a battle against the discomfort, against the harshness of the world you inhabit. You close your eyes and let the darkness of sleep take over, but even then the discomfort remains with you, lingering like a shadow in the corners of your mind. The rats continue their scurrying above you, the cold seeps into your bones, and the fire, though it still crackles faintly in the hearth, does nothing to bring warmth. This is the reality of your world. No escape, no comfort, only the constant struggle to endure. As you lie there, your body, tired from the struggles of the day, your mind begins to wander, trying to find rest in a world that offers little comfort. The cold, the dampness, the relentless filth, these are the things that have filled your senses all day. But now, in the quiet of the evening, there is a chance to find something else, something softer, something more peaceful. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Feel the weight of the day begin to fade as you focus on your breath. The world outside, the dirt, the grime, the discomfort, all of it seems to fall away like the gentle receding of a tide. The soft darkness of the night wraps around you, and the noise of the world quiets down, becoming distant and less important. You are here now, in this moment. You are safe. The struggles of 1348 with their filth and their discomfort seem so far away now. The smell of the rotting market, the cold, the relentless battle against vermin, those are no longer your worries. They are the things of another time, another place, far removed from where you are now. You are no longer trapped in the streets, the stinking gutters, or the cold, filthy bed. You are safe now, surrounded by comfort, by warmth, by the clean air that fills your lungs. Take another slow breath in. Let it fill you completely, letting the clean fresh air move through your body, soothing your muscles, calming your mind. Let it ground you in the present, in the warmth of the moment. With every breath you are becoming more and more relaxed, more and more at peace. Feel the tension leave your body slowly and steadily, as if it is being replaced by a deep sense of calm. In this moment you are not bound by the constraints of time or place. The struggles of the past are behind you, and you are now free to embrace the comfort and warmth of the present. The smell of wood smoke and earth, so overpowering just moments ago, has faded, replaced by the subtle scent of clean sheets. The freshness of the room you lie in now, the flickering candlelight which once danced on the rough walls of your medieval home has been replaced by the soft glow of a bedside lamp, casting gentle light around the space. The walls are no longer damp and cold, but warm, dry and comforting. Now allow your mind to drift from the past and focus on the present. Imagine yourself lying in a soft, comfortable bed, one that cradles you with warmth and care. The sheets are clean, soft to the touch, and you can feel their smooth texture against your skin. The pillow beneath your head is firm, yet gentle, supporting you just enough to keep you perfectly aligned, letting your body relax without strain. Your room is peaceful. It is free from the noise of the market, the rats, and the cold wind outside. There is no stench in the air, no biting discomfort that makes every moment feel unbearable. The air around you is fresh and clean, filled with the scent of lavender or fresh linen. The temperature is perfect, not too hot, not too cold, but just right, like the warmth of the sun on a pleasant spring day. In this moment, you are free from the harsh realities of the medieval world. You are no longer fighting to survive, no longer struggling with the weight of daily discomfort. You are safe here in the soft warmth of this present moment where everything is just as it should be. Feel the comfort of your bed beneath you, its softness supporting you in just the right way, allowing you to sink into it with ease. The blankets that cover you are warm, thick, and soft, providing you with a sense of security and comfort that you've never known before. They are like a cocoon, wrapping you in a gentle embrace, shielding you from the cold, the damp, and the grime of the world outside. With each breath you take, allow yourself to sink deeper into this comfort. Feel your muscles soften, releasing all the tension they've held throughout the day. Let the stress, the discomfort, the worry, all of it drift away like leaves on a calm river carried gently by the current into the distance. The world outside is far away now, fading into nothingness. There is no more noise, no more struggle. There is only the softness, the warmth, and the peace that surrounds you in this moment. As you lie here in your clean, comfortable bed, take a moment to reflect on the contrast between now and then. The harsh world of 1348, with its filth and discomfort, has no place here. This is your world now, the world of soft sheets, clean air, and warmth. This is the world where you can rest, truly rest, without fear of vermin or cold, without the oppressive weight of daily struggle. You are safe here. You are warm. The air around you is clean, free from the odors of decay, free from the stench of unwashed bodies and rotting food. Everything around you speaks of comfort and security, of a life where you can truly rest, truly relax, without worry or fear. Feel the weight of your body sinking deeper into the bed, supported by its softness, its warmth. Let yourself become weightless, floating in this moment of peace and tranquility. The bed cradles you, and the world outside fades further and further away. Now let your mind drift to all the modern comforts that surround you, comforts that make this moment so different from the life you lived earlier. You have access to clean water, to warm baths and showers, to soap and shampoo that leave your body and hair fresh and free from the grime of the world. Your clothes are soft, clean, and free from the dirt and odor of the past. You have pillows, blankets, and soft mattresses that mold to your body, giving you comfort and support with every movement. You can sleep soundly now, knowing that you are safe, knowing that you are cared for. Your home is warm, your bed is soft, and the air around you is clean. There is no filth here, no discomfort, no struggle. In this moment you are free, you are safe, you are at peace. Take a deep breath slowly. Feel the air fill your lungs, fresh and clean, and let it release any lingering tension. With each exhale, feel yourself sinking deeper into relaxation, into the peace of the present moment. You are here now and you are safe. Let yourself drift further and further into a deep, restful sleep, knowing that you are surrounded by warmth, comfort, and peace. As the world outside fades away completely, you are left with nothing but the quiet, soothing presence of your bed, your home, and the comfort it provides. Let your body relax completely, your mind slowly unwinding as you drift deeper and deeper into sleep. You are safe here, and this is where you belong. The world around you is soft and gentle, and as you close your eyes, let it lull you into a peaceful, uninterrupted rest. The process of getting dressed in 1348 is not a quick one. There are no zippers or buttons, no fasteners that make the task easier. The medieval world is slow in its rhythms, and dressing is no exception. You begin by laying out the rough woolen tunic. It is heavy, and the texture of the wool is coarse, harsh against the skin. Even before you put it on, you can feel the roughness of the fibers. The wool, though meant to keep you warm, is more likely to irritate your skin, scratching at you with every movement. The tunic, once it is on, hangs heavily from your shoulders, the weight of it settling over you like a constant reminder of your discomfort. It is not fitted or shaped to your body. There is no elegance here, no ease. The wool pulls at you, itching at the back of your neck, tightening around your arms. Every shift of your body seems to rub the fibers against your skin, like a constant reminder of the harshness of the world you live in. The sensation is inescapable, the weight of the fabric pressing down on you with each movement. Now comes the task of tying your hose. The strips of linen are simple, but they are not easy to manage. You loop them around your legs, pulling them tight, but not too tight, for the cloth is thin and doesn't offer much in the way of flexibility. The task is slow, each knot a deliberate motion, each tie an effort to keep everything in place. It takes time. Each turn of the fabric wrapping around your legs like the slow ticking of a clock, a reminder that time itself moves at the pace of these small repetitive actions. The leather boots are the next burden. They are stiff, unyielding. Even once they are on, they offer no real comfort. The dampness of the day's rain lingers in the material, and no matter how long you leave them to dry, they never truly lose their dampness. They seem to hold the cold in their very structure, the leather pressing against your skin with a harshness that no amount of wear can soften. Every step you take, the boots creak and the dampness from the rain seeps into your feet, making them cold and clammy. You feel the weight of the cloak as well, its rough wool pressing against your back, its waterlogged fabric pulling at your shoulders. Even as you walk, you can feel the weight of it dragging behind you, the dampness of the rain clinging to its fibers, soaking into the cloak, making each step feel heavier. It is an anchor, a constant reminder of the harsh weather and the relentless passage of time. The cold seems to seep into your very bones, and though the cloak was meant to shield you from the elements, it only seems to add to your discomfort, as if the rain itself has chosen to follow you. Each step you take in these clothes is a slow, deliberate movement, as if the weight of your garments is pressing you down. The process of getting dressed, of preparing yourself for the day, is not quick or easy. It is a labor, a repetition that never seems to end. The wool, the linen, the leather, they are not materials meant for comfort. They are meant for survival, for endurance, for keeping you warm in a world that offers little by way of ease. The kitchen is a place of endless repetition. There are no shortcuts here, no convenience. Every task is slow, deliberate, and necessary for survival. You begin with the grinding of grain, a task that has no end. The stone of the hand quern grates against the grain, the sound of it harsh and unrelenting. The grinding is rhythmic, a slow, steady process that continues until the grain is crushed into flour. The texture of the grain as it passes through your fingers is coarse, rough, but it is necessary. The flour must be ground, no matter how long it takes. The task is not quick. It is not something that can be rushed. Each turn of the quern is slow and laborious. The stone grinding against the grain with an irritating squeal that cuts through the air. You repeat the process again and again, the rhythmic motion of the quern, never stopping, never changing. It is a cycle that seems to go on forever, a cycle that is necessary for the next step in the process. Once the flour is ground, it is time to begin preparing the pottage. The fire crackles as you add the vegetables to the pot. The stew simmers slowly, the smell of it filling the air, though it offers no real comfort. The vegetables, though they are fresh, are not exciting. The pottage is a simple, humble meal. There is no variety, no flavor beyond the bare necessities. It is a meal to fill your stomach, not to satisfy your senses. You check the grain for weevils, picking through the kernels one by one. It is a task that never seems to end. Each kernel must be examined, each piece of grain turned over, checked for imperfections. The texture of the grain is rough in your hands, the smoothness of the kernels interrupted by the small, wriggling pests that have made their homes inside. The sound of the grain as it sifts through your fingers is a monotonous rustling, a reminder that there is no escaping the constant need for survival. The bread, though necessary, is stale. The texture of it is hard, dry, and unpleasant. You soak it in broth to make it edible, the liquid seeping into the bread, softening it just enough to be chewed. The texture of the bread is unpleasant in your mouth, the stale, blackened crust scraping against your teeth, but it is food, it is sustenance, and that is all that matters. The entire process of preparing food is a loop, a never-ending cycle. Grind the grain, check for weevils, prepare the pottage, soak the bread. Each task is repeated again and again, day after day. There is no escape from the monotony. The rhythm of it becomes a part of you. The constant movement of grinding, cooking, checking, and preparing. It is a survival cycle, a slow rhythmic beat that continues on without end. The remedies of 1348 are not gentle. They are not comforting or soothing. They are harsh, uncomfortable, and strange in their application. The salves made from animal fat and herbs stick to your skin with a cold, slimy texture that seems to seep into your pores. The sensation of it is not soothing, it is heavy, greasy, and persistent. The thick, A sticky substance clings to you, making every movement feel weighed down by the greasy salve. It coats your skin in a layer of animal fat, a constant reminder that no true comfort can be found in these remedies. The poultices are even worse. The smell of onions and garlic fills the air as the mixture is applied to your skin. The texture is thick, lumpy, and uncomfortable against your body. It does not feel healing. It feels like a punishment, an unbearable weight that is pressed against you, pulling at your skin with every movement. The smell of the herbs, the garlic, and the onions seems to seep into your pores, filling your nostrils, overwhelming your senses. The sensation is overwhelming, a constant reminder that the world of medicine in 1348 is far from gentle. The bleeding process with leeches is just as uncomfortable. The sensation of the cold, slimy leeches crawling on your skin is not soothing. It is uncomfortable, almost unbearable, as the creatures latch onto your skin, their rhythmic pulsing, a constant presence. The coldness of the leeches as they crawl on you, the slight sensation of their sucking mouths on your skin. It all combines into a feeling of discomfort, an unease that stays with you long after the process is over. The plague doctor's beak mask is no better. The herbal smell of the dried roses, the camphor, and the vinegar fills the air as the mask is placed over your face. The smell is sharp, almost biting, filling your nostrils with its overwhelming presence. The mask itself is heavy, its beak protruding out in front of you, creating an uncomfortable space around your face. The sensation of the mask pressing against your skin, the weight of it, is uncomfortable in its own right. And then there's the smell, the pungent herbal aroma that fills your senses, a constant reminder of the discomfort of the plague-ridden world you live in. The stone church is quiet, eerily quiet. As you step inside, the sound of the bustling world outside fades away. The noise of the market, the cries of vendors, the clatter of carts. These sounds seem to disappear, replaced by a deep, almost unnatural silence. The stone floor beneath your feet is cold, the chill creeping up through your shoes and into your bones. Each step you take is accompanied by the soft echo of your footsteps, the only sound in the stillness. The floor is rough underfoot, worn smooth by years of use, but it is still cold and unforgiving. It presses against your feet with a sensation that makes you acutely aware of every movement. The air inside the church is thick with the smell of old incense and beeswax candles. The scent is heavy, cloying, and it seems to fill the space, lingering in the air like a cloud. It is a familiar scent, one that reminds you of the rituals that take place within these walls. The smoke from the incense drifts in slow curls, rising toward the high ceiling, its tendrils of fragrance mixing with the waxy odor of the candles that burn low in their holders. The sound of Latin chanting fills the church, though you do not understand the words. The repetition of the phrases, the steady, rhythmic pattern of the chants is almost hypnotic. The chants fill the space, echoing off the stone walls, creating a sense of depth and weight. The sound is smooth, unhurried, a constant drone that seems to vibrate in your chest. The chanting is slow, deliberate, as if it is part of the very fabric of the church itself. The repetitive nature of it makes it almost trance-like, and your attention drifts toward the stained glass windows, the colors shifting as the light from the candles flickers and moves. The night has deepened, and the cold air continues to creep through the cracks in the walls, the drafts becoming more noticeable as the hours slip by. These drafts are not just uncomfortable, they are constant. A reminder that the shelter you've found is nothing more than a temporary barrier against the elements. The wind seems to sneak in through the gaps between the wattle and daub walls, slipping through the cracks in the wooden shutters, and even the small gaps in the roof. Every breath you take feels like it carries the chill of the outside world with it, a coldness that refuses to be shut out. The wooden shutters creak and groan in the wind, their hinges barely holding the slats in place. With each gust, the boards shift slightly, letting more of the night air filter in. The chill in the room feels invasive, like the very bones of the house are shivering with the cold. The sensation of the draft is not immediate. It is subtle at first, a quiet presence at the edges of your awareness. But as the night progresses, it becomes more pronounced. You can feel the cold creeping into your limbs, slowly working its way down your spine. It sinks into your body, and with it, the weight of discomfort deepens. The drafts are persistent, though they are not loud. They do not announce themselves with the force of a storm or the howling winds of a blizzard. No, this cold is quieter, more insidious. It slips in under the door, between the walls, curling up your legs like a sneaky snake. The feeling of it makes your body tense, as if trying to ward off the creeping chill. But no matter how tightly you huddle under the rough woolen blanket, it is never quite enough. The cold always finds a way in. Even the thick woolen blanket that covers you cannot provide a full shield against the cold. The wool, though it is meant to keep you warm, is not enough when the air around you is so cold, so unrelenting. The blanket shifts with your movements, the rough texture of the wool scraping against your skin, the fibers scratching at you with every turn. There is no comfort in this warmth, no ease in the weight of it. The blanket, like everything else in this world, carries a reminder of the harshness you face. The draft in the room is joined by other, more insidious noises, sounds that are almost too quiet to hear, but impossible to ignore. The sound of scratching, it's faint at first, a soft, almost imperceptible scurrying. You know what it is? It's the rats. You hear them moving inside the walls, their tiny claws scraping against the wooden beams, the occasional squeak of their presence breaking the stillness. The rats have made their homes in the rafters, in the spaces between the wattle and daub. They are your invisible roommates, their movements just as constant as the cold. You try to ignore the scratching, but it is impossible. It becomes a part of the atmosphere, a constant background noise that you cannot escape. The rats seem to scurry with purpose, as if they are moving in the dark, carrying out their nocturnal tasks, gathering bits of food or material for their nests. The sound of their tiny claws on the wood makes your skin crawl, the sensation of their unseen movements making it feel as though they are just inches away from you, though you know they are hidden behind the walls, behind the plaster and the stone. The sound of the rats is joined by others, tiny, almost imperceptible, movements that shift in the dark. Fleas, the relentless itching begins to creep up your legs. You can feel them, tiny, insidious creatures crawling up your ankles, making their way underneath the rough fabric of your linen leg strips. The sensation is maddening. You scratch at the itch, but it is futile. The fleas are faster than you, always just out of reach. The feeling of their tiny bodies moving on your skin is like a constant reminder that no matter how clean you try to be, there will always be something that makes you uncomfortable. Always something that scratches at your skin, that burrows into your flesh. They are invisible, too small to see, but their presence is undeniable. You scratch again, but it only provides temporary relief. The fleas continue their relentless movement, a constant presence in the background of your mind. The irritation begins to spread, making you more aware of your own skin. The itch, the discomfort becomes unbearable, yet there is nothing you can do to escape it. The fleas have made their home in the very fabric of your clothing, in the fibers of your bedding, and there is no avoiding them. No matter how many times you try to scratch or adjust, the feeling of them crawling on you persists. It is a reminder that comfort in this world is not a luxury that can be easily attained. The rats continue their scurrying behind the walls, their claws scraping against the wood with a rhythm that never changes. It is a reminder that the walls you rely on for shelter are not truly yours. The rats live here too, the cold lives here too, the discomfort, the itching, the nagging presence of things you cannot see but know are there. These are the realities of your world. There is no rest from them. They are always present, like shadows that cannot be outrun. And as if the cold and the vermin weren't enough, there is the dampness that rises from the earth beneath you. The ground, though covered by the rough straw bedding, seems to seep its moisture into the room, into the air. The dampness fills the space, creating a heaviness in the atmosphere. You can feel it on your skin, in the way your clothing clings to your body, the way the air itself feels thick, heavy, and wet. The ground beneath you seems to rise up into the room, bringing the chill with it, pulling the moisture up from the dirt floor and spreading it throughout the space. You can feel the dampness in the walls, in the wooden beams, in the very fibers of your clothing. It is the ever-present reminder that you are not truly protected, no matter how many layers you add. And no matter how many blankets you pull over your body, the dampness will always seep in. It presses against your chest, against your back, against every part of your body. The sensation is not strong enough to cause pain, but it is persistent. The cold moisture feels like a slow creeping weight, pressing down on you with every passing moment. It is not a sharp cold, but a dull, oppressive one that seeps into your bones, making you aware of every part of your body, of every discomfort. The draft continues to whistle through the cracks in the walls, carrying with it the faint sound of movement from outside, the rustling of the wind in the trees, the distant murmur of the world beyond your shelter. But it is distant, fading into the background of your awareness. The rats are closer, the fleas are closer, the dampness is closer. They are the things that fill your mind now, the things that keep you awake in the dark hours of the night. The stillness of the night is broken only by the sounds of these small, persistent annoyances. The scratch of the rats, the movement of the fleas, the cold that seeps into your skin, the weight of the dampness that presses in on you, all of these things combine to create a constant undercurrent of discomfort. It is a discomfort that you cannot escape no matter how hard you try. It is the reality of your world. The draft in the room continues to whisper through the cracks in the walls, and a reminder that you are not truly alone. The cold, the vermin, the dampness, they are your invisible companions, always present, always with you, and no matter how tightly you pull the woolen blanket around yourself, no matter how many times you scratch at the fleas, they remain. They are the background noise of your world, the things you cannot avoid, the things you must live with. The night watchman moves slowly along the city walls, the heavy cloak draped around his shoulders offering little warmth against the damp chill that clings to the air. It is 3 a.m. and the world around him is shrouded in thick wet fog, the kind that seems to wrap itself around everything, blurring the edges of the world. He can barely make out the distant outlines of the buildings below, the shapes of rooftops lost in the mist. The air is thick with moisture, the fog clinging to his wool cloak, soaking into the fabric, pressing against his skin. Every breath he takes is damp, the cool air filling his lungs with a heaviness that makes it feel as if the night itself is trying to pull him into its cold embrace. The watchman's staff, tipped with iron, taps against the cobblestones with a slow, deliberate rhythm. Tap, tap, tap. The sound echoes through the stillness, breaking the oppressive silence of the city under curfew. The cobblestones beneath his feet are slick with moisture, the weight of each step causing them to shift slightly beneath his boots. The tap of his staff is the only sound in the world at this moment, the only sign that time is still moving forward, though it feels as if everything else is frozen, held still by the thick fog. He pauses for a moment, looking out over the city, his gaze searching through the fog for any sign of movement, though he knows there will be none. The streets are empty, the house is shuttered, the people all hidden in their homes, asleep or pretending to be. The stillness is unnerving, and yet it is also soothing in its own way. The watchman knows that his presence here at this hour is a formality. Nothing will happen, not tonight, but it is his job to be here, to wait, to watch the endless empty hours tick by. The torch he carries flickers weakly in the damp air, the flame wavering as though it too is struggling against the dampness that seeps into everything. He watches the flame burn down slowly, the light shrinking with each passing moment until only the faintest glow remains. The smoke rises in thin curls, disappearing into the fog. There is something hypnotic about it, the way the smoke seems to disappear so effortlessly, like a small, quiet part of the night being absorbed into the nothingness that surrounds him. The watchman continues his slow pacing, the rhythm of his steps and the tap of his staff forming a pattern that becomes almost meditative. The silence of the city is so deep, so complete that it presses in on him, making it difficult to remember how much time has passed. He cannot see the stars above, cannot tell if the moon is out, for the fog has swallowed everything up. There is nothing but the sound of his own movement, the weight of his cloak, the cold, that wraps itself around him like a second skin. The watchman feels the cold begin to seep into his bones, slowly at first, like a creeping tide. The wool cloak, heavy with the dampness of the fog, does little to keep the chill at bay. He pulls it tighter around himself, but it is a futile attempt. The cold is relentless, a constant companion in the silence of the night. He pulls his gloves on tighter, but his fingers are already numb, stiff with the cold. The city feels empty, and the weight of solitude presses down on him, making the hours stretch longer, heavier. Tap, tap, tap. The rhythm of his steps is the only thing that marks the passing of time. He continues his rounds, though there is nothing to watch, nothing to guard against. The night is still, empty. The weight of the silence grows heavier until it feels like it is pressing against his chest, making it harder to breathe. He looks down at his staff, watching the way the iron tip sinks into the cobblestones with each step. It feels like an anchor, a connection to something, even though it is so small in the grand silence of the night. The fog seems to have swallowed the world whole, leaving him as the only living soul in a city that has forgotten how to move. At dawn, the riverbank is a desolate place, cold and unforgiving. The air is crisp and the ground is frozen underfoot, the first frost of the morning making everything seem more still than it really is. The washerwomen are already there, their breath visible in the air, puffing out in clouds as they dip their hands into the icy stream. The cold water bites at their skin as they work, their hands growing numb with each dip into the freezing river. The water is a shock every time they dip their hands in, and the coldness seeps up their arms, making their entire body stiffen in protest. Their hands, red and swollen, are moving through the fabric of the clothes they are washing, slapping them against the flat stones with a rhythmic sound that fills the cold air. The fabric is heavy, weighed down by the cold water, and the sound of it slapping against the stones is steady like the slow ticking of a clock. Each slap is a reminder of the task that must be done, a slow, unending repetition of labor that cannot be avoided. The soap they use stings their hands, the harsh lye cutting into their skin as they rub it into the clothes. The smell of the soap is sharp and bitter, filling the air with a scent that lingers long after it has passed. The sting of the cold, combined with the burn of the soap, makes the work feel endless, a cycle of cold and discomfort that can only be broken by the completion of the task. But even once it is done, the clothes are still wet, still heavy with water. The weight of the tunics soaked through with the river's chill pulls at their shoulders, making every movement feel like an effort. The washerwomen do not complain. There is no time for complaints, no time to think about how cold the water is, how much their hands ache. They work in silence, their movements slow but steady, the rhythm of their labor providing the only comfort. The sound of fabric being slapped against stone fills the air, repetitive and soothing in its monotony. The cold is ever present, biting at their skin, but it becomes part of the rhythm. It becomes just another thing that must be endured. The smell of the river, too, is a constant presence. It smells of earth, of dampness, of things that have long since been forgotten. The smell of the lye soap mixes with the earthy scent of the water, creating a sharp, acrid odor that seems to hang in the air long after the work is done. The washerwomen continue their task, working in silence, their hands numb, their bodies stiff, as the sound of fabric slapping against stone echoes through the morning mist. Inside the house, the animals are close, their warmth a welcome respite from the cold that lingers outside. The cow's slow rhythmic breathing fills the room, a deep, steady sound that is almost comforting in its consistency. You can hear the soft shuffling of hooves, the gentle rustling of hay as the cow shifts in its place, and the occasional low moo that seems to break the silence. The warmth of the animals raises the temperature of the room, but it is not a clean warmth. It is thick, heavy, and damp, filled with the scent of manure and straw. The smell of the animals is strong, warm hay mixed with the earthy odor of manure that never fully leaves the air. It clings to the room, wrapping itself around everything. The wool of the sheep brushes against your leg as it moves about, its slow, rhythmic movements a constant presence in the dark. The sensation of the wool, soft but rough at the same time, is like a constant reminder that the world is not your own. The animals have made their home here, in the same space you occupy, their bodies adding to the warmth but also to the weight of the atmosphere. The warmth from the animals is a strange comfort. It is not a clean warmth, but it is enough to take the edge off the cold. It feels heavy, oppressive, and yet it's a relief from the chill of the world outside. The room is small, and the presence of the animals only makes it feel more cramped. There is no space to move without stepping over straw, without brushing against the animals that share the room with you. The constant sound of their breathing, the rustling of their bodies, fills the air, creating a sense of closeness that is both comforting and claustrophobic. In the scriptorium, the silence is absolute. The only sound is the scratch of the quill on rough parchment, the slow rhythmic motion of the pen as it glides across the page. The air is thick with the smell of old parchment, the musty scent of dust and ink mixing in the stillness. The light from the small window is faint, casting soft beams of light across the room, illuminating the dust motes that dance lazily in the air. The silence of the room is complete, broken only by the occasional sound of a sleeve brushing against the floor or the faint rustle of parchment. The monk dips his quill into the inkwell, the sound of it dipping and the slight scrape of the nib against the glass, creating the only disruption in the stillness. The ink, thick and dark, pulls around the edges of the nib, and the monk brings it back to the parchment, beginning once more. The rhythm of writing is slow, steady, each word carefully formed, each letter a deliberate motion. The scratch of the quill against the page fills the room. It sounds soft but persistent, like a heartbeat in the silence. The smell of the iron gall ink is sharp, its metallic scent filling the air as the monk continues his work. The ink is thick, almost viscous, and the monk can feel the slight resistance as the quill moves across the page. Each word is formed slowly, deliberately, with the weight of centuries behind it. The work is repetitive, the same movements over and over again, and yet it is strangely soothing in its quiet rhythm. The hours slip by unnoticed, each one merging into the next, As the monk's hand moves steadily across the parchment, his mind focused entirely on the task at hand. The brewhouse is an entirely different world from the chill of the river bank or the lonely quiet of the night watch. The air inside is thick with humidity, and the kind of warmth that clings to your skin and makes every movement feel heavy. The scent of fermenting yeast fills the space, a heavy pungent odor that mingles with the roasted grain and the earthy smell of the brewing process. It is not a pleasant scent, but it is a comforting one, a scent that promises warmth and sustenance, the life-giving drink that will quench thirst and ward off sickness. The sound inside the brew house is a rhythmic bubbling, a low, steady noise that pulses with the movement of the mash in the copper cauldron. The heat from the fire is constant, though not overwhelming. It radiates from the cauldron, filling the air with a warmth that is oddly sticky, as if the room itself is absorbing the humidity from the mash. The sweat on your skin clings to your clothing, making you feel heavier with each passing moment. It is not the comfortable warmth of a hearth or the dry heat of a summer day. It is the heavy, suffocating heat of the brewhouse, the warmth of fermentation, of things bubbling and stewing, turning slowly into something greater. The grain in the cauldron is slow to come to life, the water mixing with the malt and hops in a process that takes time. Each stir of the grain is a labor, the thick mixture resisting the wooden paddle as you move it in slow repetitive circles. The sound of the stirring is deep and steady, a muted thud as the paddle hits the bottom of the cauldron, the heavy liquid shifting and sloshing as the grain breaks apart. The rhythm is slow, deliberate, each motion a necessary part of the brewing process. The grains are heavy, thick with the weight of the water that soaks into them, and the act of stirring becomes meditative. Each turn of the paddle a reminder that this process will take hours, perhaps even longer to complete. The smell of the brewing beer is thick in the air. The roasted grains, the yeast, the hops, all of them combine into a heady, earthy aroma that fills the space. It is the smell of life, of something being created, but it is not a clean smell. The yeast is pungent, almost sour, and the hops add a bitterness to the mix. It is a strong, overpowering odor, but it is not unpleasant in the way that rot or decay can be. It is simply the scent of transformation, of something raw being slowly turned into something useful, something that will nourish. The thick, heavy scent fills your nostrils with every breath, making you aware of the warmth that wraps around you, the heat of the fire that keeps the brew at the right temperature. The brew is slow to come to its full strength. It takes hours of stirring, of careful attention to make sure the mixture is heated just right, that the yeast is allowed to ferment, that the grain breaks down into the sugary liquid that will eventually become ale. The process is tedious, repetitive, but it is necessary. The mash needs to be stirred continuously, the heat needs to be maintained, and the grain must be broken down evenly, slowly, until it reaches the perfect consistency. The humidity in the air makes everything feel heavier, as if the very air is saturated with the weight of the brewing process. Sweat clings to your skin, dampening your tunic, and every movement seems to take more effort. The air is thick, heavy with the scent of fermentation and the slow simmering of the mash. It clings to you, wrapping around your body like a blanket, the warmth of the room sinking deep into your bones. The room is dark, lit only by the flickering flames of the fire and the faint light from the small window. The shadows in the corners of the room seem to shift with every movement, the light of the fire casting long distorted shadows that dance on the walls. The wooden beams of the ceiling are blackened by the smoke from the fire, the wood darkened and warped by the heat. The cauldron, the now slowly heating the grain, is the center of the room, its copper surface gleaming dully in the firelight. The heat radiates from it, making the air feel thick and oppressive, as if the very room itself is alive with the process of brewing. The noise of the brewing continues, a steady bubbling sound that seems to echo in the quiet room. The rhythmic thudding of the paddle as it stirs the mash, the faint crackling of the fire, the soft hissing of the steam rising from the cauldron. These are the only sounds in the room, the only signs of life. It is a quiet, methodical process, each step following the one before it in a slow, deliberate rhythm. The work is tedious, slow, but it is a work that must be done. The patience required to brew ale is not just a test of time, but of endurance, of repetition. You pause to take a breath, the warmth of the room filling your lungs, the heavy air clinging to you as you lean over the cauldron. The liquid in the cauldron is slowly thickening, turning into a darker, richer shade as the grain breaks down. The scent of the beer grows stronger, more potent as it ferments. The smell of yeast, hops, and roasted grain fills the air, mingling with the humidity and heat. It is an overpowering, almost intoxicating smell, and you can feel the weight of it in your head, in the heaviness of the air around you. The brewing process continues, the hours slipping by unnoticed. You move with the rhythm of the work, stirring the mash, checking the heat, adding more grain when necessary. The labor is slow, repetitive, each step blending into the next. The warmth of the room, the heat of the cauldron, the scent of the brewing ale, everything becomes part of the rhythm, part of the process that will eventually result in the beer that will quench thirst, provide sustenance, and help wash away the dust and grime of the day. The mash finally begins to take shape, the grain softened and broken down, the liquid thickening into a dark, syrupy consistency. The fermentation process will take even more time, but for now the brewing is done. The cauldron is removed from the fire, the heavy brew resting quietly, waiting for the next step. The heat in the room begins to dissipate slowly, the air growing cooler, but the humidity remains. It clings to your skin, making every movement feel heavier than it should be. You step back from the cauldron, wiping the sweat from your brow, the weight of the work finally lifting. The air, though still thick with the smell of fermentation, now seems to clear slightly. The warmth of the fire is no longer so oppressive, and the heavy, humid air begins to ease. The brew is in the next stage of its life, and now you can rest for a moment, knowing that the labor has been done. The smell of the yeast, the warmth of the room, the soft crackling of the fire, it all fades into the background as you pause to take a breath. It is an hour far too early for the world to be awake, yet here you are. The city around you is wrapped in a thick, damp fog that hangs low over the cobblestones, rolling and curling like a silent ocean. The watchman, wrapped in the heavy wool cloak, moves slowly across the city walls, each step measured, each breath laced with the chill of the night. It is 3 a.m. The silence of the city seems to wrap itself around you, a blanket of stillness so thick it is nearly suffocating. The distant sounds of the world, dogs barking, wind whispering through the trees, the occasional creak of wood, are swallowed by the fog. All is mute. You step forward, your boots lightly tapping on the uneven cobblestone path, each tap echoing in the vast emptiness, stretching through the fog, but there is no sound to follow. It is as if the night itself is holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Your staff taps again, tap, 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 and for a moment you wonder if the city can hear it, if anyone else is awake, or if you are the only one moving through this thick veil of silence. The city is under curfew. The streets are empty, houses darkened, windows shut tight against the cold and the unseen dangers of the night. The only light you have is the dim flicker of your torch, its flame weak and sputtering in the damp air. The fire doesn't want to burn, and you watch as the tiny flickers of orange and red struggle against the heavy, moist air. Every time you turn to look back at it, it seems smaller, as though the night is trying to extinguish it. You move closer to the torch, but there's nothing you can do to encourage it, nothing to help it along. The flame will burn as it wants to, slowly waning as the minutes pass, and the fog, like a blanket, will swallow it whole. The staff clicks against the stone as you continue your patrol, the rhythm of it like the ticking of a clock measuring time in the same slow, deliberate way. The darkness stretches out around you and the fog deepens with each passing minute. You try to make sense of it, the way the mist swallows everything, the way it coats the air like syrup. Everything around you seems distant, hazy, even unreal. The city is lost in the fog, just as you feel lost in the silence. A tap, tap, tap. The rhythmic sound of your staff on the cobblestones is the only thing grounding you, but even it seems to fade with each step. Your mind wanders as your body moves mechanically, one step after another. You check the torch again, still faint, still struggling against the dampness, and your thoughts drift to the hours ahead. This is the same every night, the long stretches of silence punctuated only by the occasional sound of rats skittering across the rooftops, the wind howling through the gaps in the shutters, and your own movements, slow and repetitive. You find yourself wondering how long the city can hold its breath before it must wake again. The heavy fog has become a part of you, wrapping itself around your mind, and you find that even the clink of your staff against the stones begins to lose its meaning. Tap, tap, tap. The rhythm is all there is now. The night stretches on, empty and silent. The fog begins to feel heavier, as if it has taken root inside you. You can feel the cold air seeping into your bones, the dampness clinging to your woolen cloak, and it begins to weigh you down. The rhythmic tapping of your staff continues, each step slow, methodical, and unchanging. The sound of your breathing is quiet in the thick silence, but it is there. It is the only real noise, the only sensation you have left. The chill presses against your skin, creeping beneath your cloak, seeping into the very fabric of your being. You wrap your arms tighter around yourself, trying to find some comfort, but the night refuses to give any. Tap, tap, tap. The sound has become monotonous now, as though the world is repeating itself in an endless loop. There is no escape from this rhythm. The fog holds you in its grip, the air thick with moisture, and you are surrounded by it, like the city itself has been swallowed. The walls, once familiar, now seem distant and cold, barely visible through the haze. Every movement is slow, every step deliberate, each one taking you further into the emptiness. And you know that this is all there will be, this long isolated watch, standing in the fog, waiting for the morning to come. Prompt 12. The freezing river labor. At dawn the river bank is still and cold, the air thick with frost. The river itself seems almost frozen, the water moving sluggishly beneath the ice, barely able to push through the coldness. The washerwomen stand at the water's edge, their hands red and swollen, their fingers stiff with the biting cold. The water is shockingly cold, so cold that it feels as though it will numb them completely. Yet they work without hesitation, their hands dipping into the icy stream over and over again. The sensation of the cold water is brutal, like an electric shock each time they submerge their hands. The water so cold that it feels like it has been pulled from the depths of winter itself, bites at their skin, numbing their fingers with every dip. The coldness moves up their arms slowly, making their whole body stiffen as they work. Each time their hands emerge from the river, their skin is red, their fingers trembling with the shock of the cold, but they continue. There is no choice but to continue. The work must be done. The sound of the wet, heavy cloth slapping against the flat stones echoes through the still morning air. It is a rhythmic, repetitive sound, the slap of cloth against stone, the water splashing as it is squeezed from the fabric. The noise is hypnotic, a constant background to the cold, the labor, and the discomfort. It is a sound that seems to stretch on forever, a loop that cannot be broken. The weight of the waterlogged tunics pulls on the washerwomen's arms, the fabric heavy and slow, resisting every motion. They continue their work hour after hour, dipping their hands into the freezing water, the cold biting at them with every movement. The lye soap they use stings their hands, burning them with its harshness. The smell of the soap is sharp and bitter, like the sting of the cold itself, but there is no relief. The water is cold, the fabric is heavy, and the work is endless. The rhythmic slap of the cloth against the stone is unrelenting, and it soon becomes the only sound that matters. The wet, cold fabric makes a dull, soft thud as it hits the stone, the repetition of the noise becoming like a drum beat that fills the air. The noise, though not loud, is constant. It is the sound of survival, the sound of labor that must be done no matter the cold, no matter the discomfort. Each slap of the fabric is like a heartbeat, a reminder of the long hours of work ahead. The washerwomen work in silence, their hands numb, their bodies stiff with the cold. The riverbank, though it is quiet, feels alive with the repetitive labor. The cold air, the weight of the tunics, the endless task, all of it blends into a rhythm. and a loop that stretches into the morning and beyond. The cold is ever present, but the work must continue, the sound of cloth against stone marking the passage of time. Inside, the animals are close. The small room that serves as a place for warmth also houses the animals, their bodies, providing the heat that is so desperately needed in the cold, damp world outside. The cow's slow, rhythmic breathing fills the space, a deep, steady sound that echoes through the room, breaking the silence. Each breath is long, measured, the low exhale a constant presence in the background. The warmth of the cow's body, though not enough to warm the entire room, provides a comfort of sorts. It is a living heat, the kind that comes from something alive, something that carries its warmth within. The smell of warm hay mingles with the smell of manure, a potent mixture that fills the room with an earthy, slightly sour odor. It is a familiar smell, one that has become a part of the room, a part of the space you occupy. The hay is thick, covering the floor in a soft, dry layer, and the animals move through it slowly, their hooves rustling against the straw, their bodies shifting as they settle into the warmth. The scent of their wool coats, of their warm, damp bodies, mixes with the hay and the manure, creating a smell that is earthy and strong, yet comforting in its own way. As you move through the room, the sheep brushes against your leg, its wool coat soft and rough at the same time. The sensation of the wool against your skin is strange, like something both comforting and irritating. The wool is thick, dense, and soft in some places, rough in others. It brushes against your legs as the sheep moves past you, the sensation lingering for a moment before fading into the background of the room. The room is small, but the warmth of the animals makes it feel cozy, despite the heaviness of the smell. The animals are close, their breathing, their movement, their presence filling the space with a constant hum of life. The warmth of their bodies adds to the suffocating atmosphere, the heat from their fur mixing with the damp air to create an almost oppressive atmosphere. There is no space to move freely, but the heat, the closeness of the animals is a comfort of sorts. It is the warmth of life, of living things that share the same space, that give what little heat there is to share. In the quiet sanctuary of the scriptorium, everything is still, save for the soft scratch of the quill on parchment. The ink flows in steady lines as the monk dips the tip of his quill into the ink pot, the soft clink of the quill against the glass barely noticeable. The inkwell is shallow, its edges smooth from years of use. The dark ink inside is thick, almost viscous, a deep black liquid that clings to the nib. The air is thick with dust, a fine film that coats the ancient shelves and the edges of the table. The dust motes drift lazily in the single shaft of light that filters through the high narrow window. Each movement the monk makes is deliberate, slow. The quill, sharp at the tip, moves across the rough parchment with a soft, repetitive scratch. The sound is soothing, rhythmic, a gentle scraping that fills the silence. Each letter, each word is formed with care, a steady flow of ink that takes shape in front of his eyes. The monk doesn't hurry. There is no rush. The task is slow, methodical, a loop that never changes. The parchment crinkles softly under his hand, the slight rustling noise a gentle companion to the scratch of the quill. The monk pauses for a moment, his fingers wrapped around the quill, feeling the coolness of the wood. He dips the quill again into the ink, the soft clink of the nib against the inkwell almost lost in the silence. The ink spreads across the tip, dark and rich, ready to be transferred to the parchment once more. The monk's hand is steady as he moves the quill, the tip tracing delicate curves and lines, forming the text with a care that betrays a deep reverence for the written word. The quill moves in smooth, sweeping arcs, the rhythm slow but constant. As he writes, the monk's sleeve brushes softly against his side, the quiet sound of fabric shifting, a faint interruption in the otherwise uninterrupted calm. The scent of old parchment and ink fills the air, mingling with the mustiness of the room. The silence is heavy, almost oppressive, as if the room itself is holding its breath. The only sounds are the faint scratch of the quill, the slight rustling of the parchment, and the occasional soft shift of the monk's body as he moves to dip the quill once again. The ink dries slowly on the page, and the monk presses lightly on the parchment to smooth out any bumps left by the ink's initial application. The rough texture of the parchment resists slightly, the ink pulling against it, creating a slight resistance before it smooths out. The entire process is slow, deliberate, without hurry. The monk's hand aches slightly as the hours pass, the repetitive motion of writing making his fingers cramp. But there is no time to rest. The work must be done. The scriptorium is quiet except for the sounds of labor, the slow, constant scratching of the quill on parchment, the occasional dip of the pen, and the rustling of the monk's sleeve as it shifts with his movements. The smell of the brewhouse is heavy in the air, thick with the scent of fermenting yeast and roasting grain. The large copper cauldron sits in the center of the room, its contents simmering slowly, bubbling faintly with each passing moment. The sound of the mash, as the grain breaks down and melds with the water, is a low, steady, bubbling noise that fills the room. The heat from the fire beneath the cauldron radiates outward, warming the space, but it is a heavy warmth, the kind that clings to your skin, making every movement feel a little slower, a little more deliberate. The air is thick with humidity, the sweat sticking to your skin as you stir the mash. Each turn of the wooden paddle through the grain is slow and laborious. The consistency of the mash changes slowly, thickening with every stir. The weight of the grain, the sticky texture of the mixture all add to the sense of time stretching out, unhurried and steady. The mash is thick, heavy with the water and the grain, and each turn of the paddle seems to take more effort than the last. The copper gleams faintly in the flickering light of the fire, the metal heated by the flames, the warmth radiating outward as you continue to stir. The smell of the brewing ale is overpowering, a combination of yeast, grain, and the slight bitterness of the hops. The air is filled with the scent of the fermentation process, the heavy, earthy aroma of yeast mixing with the warm, roasted grain. The scent of the hops is sharp and pungent, lingering in the air like a bitter reminder of the patience required to make ale. The smell grows stronger as the brew simmers, a thick, rich scent that fills your nose and clings to your clothes, making it impossible to escape. You can feel the warmth of it in your lungs with each breath you take. The brewing process is slow, taking hours as the grain breaks down and ferments. The rhythmic bubbling of the mash is a constant sound, one that you grow accustomed to. It becomes the background noise of your labor, the reminder that time is passing slowly. The heavy smell of fermenting yeast fills your senses, making everything else fade into the background. The slow, repetitive nature of brewing creates a loop, a pattern that feels as if it could go on forever. You stir the mash, add more grain, check the temperature, but it all becomes one continuous motion, a never-ending cycle of brewing. Inside the stone church, the world feels entirely different. The noise of the market, the bustle of the streets, the cry of the vendors, all of that is lost as you step into the church, leaving the noise and chaos behind. The church is cold, the stone floor seeping through your shoes, its chill, a constant reminder of the weight of the building around you. The sound of your footsteps is muffled, softened by the thick stone beneath your feet. The air is heavy with the scent of old incense, its sweetness mixing with the earthy smell of the stone and dust. The church is quiet, eerily so. The silence inside feels like it has weight, pressing down on you, making the space seem even larger than it is. The only sound is the soft, repetitive chanting from the monks. Their voices low and steady, their words in Latin, a language you do not understand. The sound is soothing, hypnotic in its repetition, the rhythm of the chant creating a steady pulse in the air. It is not loud, but it is constant, filling the vast space with its hum. The candles flicker softly in the dim light, the flame dancing lazily in the still air. The scent of beeswax fills the space, mingling with the lingering smoke of incense. The faint light from the candles casts long shadows on the stone walls, stretching across the cold floor like dark fingers. The church feels alive with the passage of time, the sounds of the chanting creating a rhythm, a heartbeat in the stillness. You are not sure how long you've been standing there, staring at the stained glass windows, but the time doesn't seem to matter. The minutes blend into hours, the silence pressing in around you as you lose yourself in the rhythm of the chant. The stained glass windows are beautiful, their colors muted by the soft light. The images they portray are vague, distorted by the thickness of the glass, but they are calming in their presence. The soft colors shift as the light changes, the shadows stretching across the walls and floor, adding to the sense of stillness. There is nothing here but silence, rhythm, and time that stretches on and on, unhurried, steady, and peaceful. As you drift through the world of medieval labor, the texture of daily life becoming more and more familiar, take a moment to appreciate the peace that surrounds you now. The simplicity of the past, the repetition of the daily grind, contrasts sharply with the comforts of today. Feel the shift in your body, the relaxation that comes with the slow, repetitive rhythm of these lives, grinding grain, brewing ale, scribing words by candlelight, and working the river's cold current. Now, as the city sleeps and the quiet hum of life around you fills your senses, ask yourself, how can we embrace the simplicity of these moments in our own lives? The slowness, The focus on the task at hand, the immersion in the environment all serve to remind us of the power of taking life one slow breath at a time. As you continue this journey through history, relax and let the rhythm guide you into sleep. Drift deeper into the silence, knowing that as you awaken, the rhythms of your modern life may be just as peaceful, just as rhythmic, if you choose to let them be. Stay present and allow the comfort of this ancient world to carry you toward a restful, undisturbed night.